games I think I've ever seen in Galaxies. It's a lot to handle, but we're going back to a sense of semi-normalcy primal with a Plunder Planet, it looks like.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're not getting 3 galaxies in one, we're just getting 1 galaxy, which I guess is okay.
I guess so.
I guess if you insist, Riot. But yeah, I think in Plunder Planet, you're going to be forced to play more aggressively again, so you can generate as much gold as possible and not fall behind. So again, I'd like to see these players sort of adjust their playstyle. I don't think you can just hard force a comp on this galaxy. I think it's much, much riskier because if you're waiting on combining items or buying units, you're going to fall behind. So I think this is, again, 100%. A galaxy where flexibility is king.
Yeah, I agree completely. This is one of those galaxies where, like, you can't do that lost streak style because you're just not going to be able to keep up. Ooh, how about a vein out of the first one of the first orbs for Lev Dtrovsky? That's, normally when you get the 3 cost, you're like, sweet, 3 gold. But that's one that I would consider keeping, and that's a good reason to. You found the Caitlyn too. Sniper buff online already.
It looks like you and Lev D are on the same page about that. He does have a glove, which is super good on Vayne because you eventually want it to become a Last Whisper. And if you get 2 gloves, you can make Last Whisper and Infinity Edge. As you noted, though, she is a 3 cost, so she's a bit expensive to hold. If Lev D doesn't see good items here, like bows or swords, I do expect him to look to just sell the Vayne instead and pick up some 1 cost that he can 2-star, so he has a stronger early game board.
Yeah, might as well hold it. See if you get the items to support it, like you're saying. But I'm just wondering if we're going to see this all end right now. The pressure is on for Lev D and a double 61. And that, for Slooper to get second last game was so massive. Because with a first, he would have had enough points to be in contention to win the whole thing as well. But by getting second, he didn't get enough points because there's that drop-off, from first to second. So that's a little bit heartbreaking in that even if he does great this game, even if he gets first this game, he's still going to have to play at least another one if he wants to win it.
And that's sort of what I love about this format. It makes you sweat a little, right? So if you're Slooper, you're not just worried about your own play. You're worried about the play of the 2 guys who can win the game right now. So if I'm Slooper, I'm spam picking items on carousel. I'm coordinating the whole lobby to deny and grief these other guys because he knows his dream could end right now if Lev D or KC Double pop off.
Yeah, and that's definitely what we're going to start seeing. That's like a really good thing to bring up is that at this point, we're going to start to see players get targeted. The rest of the lobby is going to do everything they can to make sure that double 61 and Lev D can't win it this time. They want their chance too. So that'll bring out some interesting stuff as well, I'm sure. I was surprised to see Battlecast do as well as it did, but when you hit that 8 Battlecast, that's just so strong.
Now, this is an interesting decision by Lev D to just level and play this board. I actually don't think this board is very strong. He has no 2-stars. He doesn't even have pairs to hit. I guess he figures, look, I don't have any pairs, so there's no point staying at 4 to hit anything. Let me just preserve HP as much as possible and ensure that I can at least kill a few units to generate gold from the plunder. But yeah, it's an interesting decision. I do think it's correct, but I think Lev D's in a kind of an awkward spot and he's doing his best. But yeah, that's good. He won, so kudos to him.
Yeah, we take those for sure. I mean, just having the Vayne, I think, is what's kind of saving that early game. There's a Caitlyn too, so that is a really nice upgrade, actually. Yeah, throw that back in, and now that you've got a win, you've got a chance to stabilize. So what started out kind of rough, looking a little bit better for Lev D now. Gonna move on to our winner from last game, winner of 2 games in a row. Remember, you need to get the win after you get 18 points. So the question is, can double 61 do it this time?
Yeah, double 61,
16. Yeah.
Absolutely insane, at 16 or any age, I guess, for that matter. And he didn't actually have that dominant of a performance yesterday. I think he just sort of snuck in top 4 after having some pretty difficult games early. And I think you mentioned earlier yesterday that he is a player who is really clutch in tournaments, right? In the EU qualifier, he didn't have awesome games to start off, and then he came back and slammed the rest of the games to qualify. And here, he just seems to get better over time. It might be due to the fact that he's sort of a researcher, right? He's someone who studies the game, studies other players, and just gets better over time. So that might be what we're seeing now. He just has a really good tournament late game.
Maybe kind of has to read the lobby a little bit. He did get better as the game went on yesterday as well, where he finished really strong with a 1 and a 2 that got him 2 today. So he does seem to kind of power up He's kind of like a little bit of a Saiyan of the lobby, where like, you know, you start out non-Super Saiyan, take some hits, eat a sensu bean or two, and then like suddenly it's time to go Super Saiyan, and you got to power up, and that's going to take at least 3 episodes to power up completely. So that's the equivalent of, you know, maybe like 3 games of TFT. So it makes sense. He's like on Goku track for sure.
He is, but he's got to get the Kamehameha out this game, ideally.
That's right.
Because he doesn't have 5 episodes to power up, because Lev D. Trotsky is breathing down his shoulder. Right now, he is lose streaking, because his board is not the greatest board. Generally, Brawler starts are one of the weaker frontline starts, so it's to be expected. But he looks like he's actually setting up to potentially go Star Guardians, because he does have the Syndra pair, he does have a J4 already, and I think he had an Ionic Spark, which is not bad with a comp.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of looking for that second protector. And there's a Nico with a chain vest, so you can definitely use that if you can find it.
He can definitely use that.
He's going to try to get over to it. Oh,
I'm surprised people are not pinging stuff on camera. Yeah, sorry about that.
Does anyone listen if that actually happens, though? Yeah.
I think we both know the answers to that.
I think so.
So he did pick up the belt, so that's a really good protector item. I think he's got some direction now. He's going to hold on to those Syndras. The only issue for him right now is his economy is going to be pretty bad, and rightfully so. Right, he had to keep a board in play that would save him HP, but he also had to hold units for the future. So hopefully he's able to start hitting some of the units that'll help him win, because he's not going to be making much econ this turn. But he should be able to make that 10 gold threshold. He's going to swap out the Alawi, because Jarvan's way better with Warmogs, and I think his early game is going to stabilize off of that Warmogs.
Right. It's looking a little bit better now. We're going to move over and check out Slooper here, who is also thinking a Star Guardian Sorks. And he's got that Hextech Gunblade, which is becoming a core item on Syndra. I think Blue Buff Hextech are kind of the 2 core items on Syndra, and then the third item is kind of up for grabs right now, it feels like.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. With the changes to Gunblade and also the changes to Syndra, her in combination with this item is just so potent. The change to Syndra a few patches ago was that she sort of doesn't overkill with her orbs. So if she kills 1 unit with her orbs, the rest of the orbs go to another unit. And Gunblade, in conjunction with Blue Buff, means she gets so many shields. So sometimes you'll see a Blue Buff Syndra like kill an entire team of 2 stars just at 1 star. So once he gets a Blue Buff online, he's going to be in a great spot. The only thing I'd be worried about, though, if I were him, is getting good tank items on the Nico, because the Nico is just as, if not more important than the Syndra mid and late game.
Oh, yeah. Late game especially. I mean, the Nico is going to be really important, because that's going to be where a lot of your damage and crowd control comes from, too. But, you know, if you can just live long enough, if you can just, like, deal enough damage to get everybody low, then you get those great moments where Syndra, like, kills, like, 3 people at once, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it feels so good when that happens. It feels so good.
Definitely.
But right now...
60... Yeah. So 61 right now, going up against Slooper. And so it's a battle of the Star Guardians, but the itemization looking a little bit better on double 61 side. But I feel like at some point you're going to want to try to pick up a Rakan, or maybe that Jin Zhao too, if you can find a complete one, and move those items over to the Nico, huh?
Yeah, you're totally right. I think generally, speaking, the way people play this comp is you have J4, assuming he hit 2, hold the items until you have a Nico 2, because J4 is just as effective with these items early. You just really want it on an upgraded protector. And then once Nico 2 is there and you have Warmogs for her, she can solo frontline. Arguably, she can solo frontline now, but why sacrifice a J4 when he's already 2-starred? So yeah, if I'm KC double 61, I'm feeling really nice about the spot I'm in. I feel good about my Nico items, and now I'm just focused on getting some backlines so that we can kill some things.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point, actually, and that's something to kind of keep in mind if you're a newer player too, is that there's this temptation, right, to get your items on the carry as fast as possible, but sometimes it's better to just kind of wait, and like, even though you've got the carry, you don't necessarily have the strength to make the transition. Going from a 2-star Jarvan to a 1-star Nico is kind of a downgrade if you don't have like another 2-star to shore things up a little bit.
Absolutely, and that was actually a really good Krug round for Slooper, because not only did he get a GA, which is a solid use of Chain, he also got another Nico from the Orb, right? So he's only 1 Nico off of Nico 2, and if he manages to natural a Nico, that's a huge high roll that will basically secure him until he goes level 8.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to swap over to Voltairix right now, who had such a dominant day yesterday, but just hasn't been able to produce those same results today, whether it's the stress or the rolls or the lobby. It's hard to say, because we know he's a great player, but maybe if the day goes long enough, he can, you know, make something happen here. Going up against Zhuangzi, who's also had a rough day for sure, but manages to find a win there. And we are starting to see a little bit of a separation in the pack here, about 20 HP different between 4th place and 8th place, which, you know, is a lot for round 3-1. Slooper suffering a little bit. We'll see if maybe he can catch it up again. Oh, wait, no, that's like 37 for Slooper. Oh, wait, no, it's a little bit blurry on my screen. Maybe it is 57. I can't read.
I can't read either, but somehow 2 illiterates got to cast today. But
hey,
Voltairix,
as long as we can count up to 11, we're good.
Right? That's all you need. Look at the pretty pictures. But I wonder if Voltairix is actually playing a little too flexibly here. This is now a 3rd or 4th game we've seen him run some sort of Rebel variant. And although I think it's fine to play this flexible style to top 4, Voltairix needs to do better than top 4 if he's going to win this tournament. He actually needs 6 points to be put in the 18-point range, and then he needs a 1st place. So he needs to take a 3rd, and this comp is not great at doing that. So I think there's obviously something to be said for playing flexibly, but sometimes you just need to play a certain comp that's going to get you a higher placement. So I actually question the comp selection by Voltairix, and I think he needs to play a little bit riskier considering that the whole game can end now.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right, because when it comes down to it in this particular scenario, you really need to change the style that you're approaching the game based on the points in the lobby, which is interesting, because you get certain situations where it's like, okay, I know I need to play for a 1st now, I know I need to play for a top 4 now, but this is a situation where, you know, you need to catch up in points big time, right? And so in order to really have a chance, you can't wait. Like, you can't just play consistently like we know Voltairix is really good with, to get those top 4s and get those consistent 4s. He needs to actually like get big points now to stay relevant, basically. And so we will see what he can do against his fellow Frenchman, Double 61. Double 61 has the Jarvan, and he's got just great Nico items on there. And as you can see, he's still just waiting for that Nico too to be able to make that swap from the Jarvan to the item as far as Nico's items go. But it's enough to take down Voltairix, and he is going to continue to kind of struggle a little bit in the middle of the pack. As we see Slooper taking some damage, a little bit of last round scouting. And let's go ahead and take a look at Zhuangzi here. This is a player that was kind of puzzling, and I had mentioned earlier that I felt that overall Lobby 1 was stronger than Lobby 2. And while going into this game, we did have 2 players from Lobby 1 and 2 players from Lobby 2 in the top 4, so arguably that is even. If you go a little bit farther than that, it is lopsidedly in favor of Lobby 1 right now, and it would seem that the struggles that Zhuangzi and AlphaGo are having today might kind of indicate that. It sounds like you've got Primal back. You're back! Yay!
I'm back! The pleasures of remote casting. But yeah, to your point about Zhuangzi, he's been struggling today. That said, the position he is in looks a little bit more familiar. He's at 100 HP, hasn't dropped a single round, and he's playing something different. He's trying to play Cybers, which I love, considering his items. Cybers is an excellent comp that can definitely take a 1st. And when you're win streaking on Cybers and you already have the items you need, you're really loving that spot. That said, I would like to see him get 1, maybe 2 bows so you can get a Giant Slayer, because if you don't even have a single Giant Slayer with Cybers, you fall off hard when you start facing Nikos late game. But overall, I like that Zhuangzi is sort of mixing it up a little bit, showing his flexibility as a player, and trying to sort of play what he's given rather than what he'd prefer.
Yeah, we kind of need that from him, too. He didn't play any Cyber games yesterday. As you well know, he played 2 games of Mech, he played 3 games of Space Pirates. So I felt like we didn't really, honestly, get a very good look at his, level of play in general. And there's the first HP loss for him, suffering that against Shoemaker. But, yeah, we know he's got to play more comps than just those. So Cybernetics, a good standard way to go.
Absolutely, and he is so rich right now, Doa. He's level 7, 69 a gold, and he is in a solid spot unit-wise. Again, the only issue is his items. I think he'll be okay if he gets an Infinity Edge in Last Whisper, but he won't be in like okay, this is a first place position. But so long as he's not super contested, we should expect him to hit his units with this much gold. I see there's already a Vein 2 in the lobby, but I think that's the only Vein 2 out there. So from a financial perspective, Zhuangzi he's doing awesome, but from an item perspective, especially since we see multiple players going Nico carry, he's going to need to do a little bit better.
Right. I mean, you've got some time. We've talked before about how you can spend your hit points as resources as well if you need to kind of, wait, save up, wait for some items to drop off the next neutral round, that kind of thing. But he could also level very aggressively too. So I'm curious to see what stance he takes. Where does he want to just go ahead and hit a fast 8? I feel like that'd be pretty good. Finds the Aurelia. That's kind of nice as we go into the Infiltrator round.
Yeah, this is an interesting decision point to your question about whether he should fast 8. I suspect that his board is a little bit weak, and he might lose a lot of HP going into and waiting until 4-3. So it might not be the worst idea in the world to just roll a little bit of interest since he's so wealthy to preserve some HP for later in the game. But it sort of depends on what items he hits here. Looks like he hits 2 belts in a tier, which is not awesome. So yeah, he did not get the items he needs by a long shot. He actually has way better items for Star Guardians, so I'd like to see if he's open to pivoting, even though he already has the Last Whisper on him. But yeah, these are not the items you want to see if you're Zhuangzi. And he is choosing to just go 8, say, okay, I'm just gonna go 8, get some natural rolls at level 8 to get good units, and we'll sort of sit until we can get good items off of carousels.
Yeah, I think you're kind of committed, too, with what we see in the rest of the lobby. I think we've got 2 different Star Guardians players already, so it'd be tough to make that transition, even if you saw a couple of the 1-stars in the shop right now, But when I look at these items, I kind of think to myself, yeah, you've got Thieves' Gloves for Aurelia, which is awesome, but you've got the ability to put Redemption on your Fiora or a different champion. You've got some of the good Cybernetics items, and by leveling, you have that higher chance of hitting the Echo, so it's awkward, and you can tell by the look on his face he's not happy. But if he can just hold on a little bit longer, I think he's got a chance of maybe bringing it back.
Agreed. When you're in this position where you've been win streaking, you have a lot of HP, you have a lot of money, it just requires discipline and an understanding that if the game goes long enough, you will get some lucky breaks, right? You'll find things like an Echo 2 eventually. You'll get good items off of the full item carousels. So although it's frustrating, he just needs to keep get the 1 to 2 extra damage items he needs on Vayne. And Aurelia with Thieves' Glove is an excellent carry in the meantime. So if he can hit Aurelia 2, she might be able to do the work that Vayne cannot.
Dude, right now, we're looking at KC 61, and he is 2 Syndras away from finding that Syndra 3. And now Zlooper is looking at this board, and he's like, oh, so that's where all my Syndras went. 61 is taking them all. The rich get richer.
Right.
It's going to be tough to complete the Syndra 3, but just holding them from Zlooper is really strong.
It is. And at this point, KC 61 is a problem, Doa. He's in first place. He's win streaking, he's hitting his units, he's hitting his items, and this guy is about to end the tournament if people don't start paying attention, doing whatever they can to put a brakes on the KC 61 train. Oh, no.
The rich just literally keep getting richer. Like, he finds the Janna. Do you pivot into 6 Star Guardians here? Do you give up a couple protectors?
I think at this point, might as well. Once you have the Janna, you pretty much immediately get stronger. But I guess he's making the judgment call that he needs the front line more than he needs the back line. So I think that's a totally fine call as well. Also, sometimes if the call is borderline, it's he's on a 9-round win streak. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Exactly. And he has plenty of time to eventually get that Janna in once he takes the time to actually think about, hey, is this a stronger board or not? So it's a great question. I'm not sure the question of the answer, but he has the luxury of time and money and HP.
I think you're absolutely right. He has got nothing but luxury right now with all those resources, the HP, the gold, the champions that he's got on his belt already. And I think what you said that matters the most is if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because it kind of comes back to what I was talking about earlier. We're transitioning one item or transitioning items from one champion to another, making sure you're doing that at the right time. Transitioning your comps at the right time is another big part of it as well, of course, right? where you have the ability to bring what you see as the final form of your comp online, but you need to make sure you do it in a way that doesn't make your board weaker than the existing one. I think in this case he's saying, you know, hey, I'm win streaking. What is he, like 10 in a row right now? So why swap? You know, why not wait to make changes until you need to? Oh my
exactly.
goodness!
And oh my
Syndra
god,
away.
Another
Whoa.
Syndra. Okay, this is a high roll. This is definitely a high roll game.
Yeah.
And he's got to be pretty
Soccer
happy
two?
right now. Yep, hitting the Nico too. And at this point, you know, the only thing that's stopping him from just running away with his whole game is the fact that he doesn't have a mana generation item. So he's definitely going to look to take that on carousel. I would like to see other players start to just straight up deny him. Because if they don't straight up deny him, he's going to deny them a world championship.
So I didn't actually see that he only had a Nico 1 still, and that makes a lot more sense. That's a much better reason to not transition when he did. But now that he's got this Nico 2, this comp should be very much online. And if he hits the Syndra 3, I think it's all over, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, not only is he sort of high rolling the units, other people are low rolling, right? We're seeing a Vayne here who doesn't have a Giant Slayer, so she can't cut through the Nico. I think when we looked at Zhuangzi, he also was far away from a Giant Slayer. So this is sort of a perfect storm that is starting to brew for double 61. I'm not sure what it's going to take to stop him. No one scanning over the lobby looks strong enough to beat him right now. So this is getting pretty scary if you're anyone but double, but really exciting if you're anyone from France, except Filtarius, I guess.
I actually think in a way it would be so poetically perfect for old school Star Guardian Sorcerer to win the set 3 championships, because that was one of the strong builds that came up early on in the set, nerfed into oblivion, and then for it to come back and win in the end just seems like a nice story arc for the Star Guardians, I think, in set 3. Because if you look at the itemization as he plays against AlphaGo here, this is OG itemizations, right? The GA on the Nico, the GA on the Syndra. He's kind of bringing back some of the old things to make it happen, and another big win for him. Looking a bit unstoppable right now.
He's on a 12-round streak, man. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop him? He's going to get so much more gold now. He can just look to straight go 9 and look for a Janna 2 there. And then, honestly, it doesn't even matter what items he has if he's hitting everything. He could just choose to stay at 8 and roll for the Syndra because he's only 1 away to sort of dictate what decision he makes. He should scout around the lobby and see how many Syndras are gone. But him keeping the streak rolling into 4-7 is a huge deal because now he has the option to just go straight to 9 if he doesn't feel good about staying on 8.
Well, the luxury as well that he's got, yet another one, is that there's a couple other players in this lobby that are trying Star Guardians, at least one, if not one more than that. And if they're low enough, he can kind of just wait till that person gets kicked out and then try to find the Syndra, you know? He's got the HP to do it.
Absolutely. He's got the HP to do pretty much whatever the hell he wants at this point. And at this point, I'm wondering who in the lobby can stop him. Maybe Zhuangzi. I mean, Zhuangzi stayed pretty stable in second place. I saw a Vayne with a Giant Slayer, so that's what you would need to take care of this Nico. Unfortunately, any Last Wishers are actually going to be pretty wasted here because Nico does not have any armor items. So, a Zephyr though, that can make a difference. That's big.
Nico being taken out. You cannot allow that to happen. He's got a position better than that in the future, playing against Zhuangzi, who's currently in second place. And one of the people that might be able to end this run, pretty big Fizz ult, and oh my, I think he's got it. Oh, but the Syndra comes back from the GA. Nico there to do the damage, but this Aurelia is just too much, right? Yeah.
Now, I think the Nico can 1v2. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not any sort of big percentage health abilities to kill her, but I think unfortunately the lack of damage from the backline is going to mean that Nico goes down, and that shows you we found a chink in the armor, Doa. It's the lack of a Quicksilver sash on this Nico.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is now going forward he needs to be very aware of when he's going to be playing Zhuangzi to try to avoid that Zephyr, because I think undoubtedly if the Nico wouldn't have been Zephyred, that would have been a round that double 61 would have won.
And if you're the rest of the lobby, you're breathing a sigh of relief And you've
Yeah.
probably also identified, okay, this is the one thing that he doesn't have besides a blue buff. He does not have any way to deal with Zephyr, and it looks like there are multiple players who do have Zephyrs. Unfortunately,
Right.
Kobe, I guess, did not identify that he could Zephyr the Nico because he has a thresh with Zephyr, but on the back line. So I think pretty much any fight where you don't Zephyr the Nico is just going to be a 9-0, right? Like we see here, it's a pretty easy fight for double 61, despite not having mana generation. And goodbye, Bobe.
Bobe is out. Shoemaker is out. AlphaGo dropped one round earlier. There's another Nico. Obviously, Nico 3 is big too. I'm trying to remember who the other Star Guardian player was, if it was Slooper or if it was Shoemaker. If it was Shoemaker, that's pretty big because that frees up some Nikos. We're looking at Voltaire's perspective as well as he scouts around a little bit, and I think I saw that was Slooper that had the Star Guardians. It was hard to see because it's kind of small, but it is Slooper. Okay, yeah. So if Slooper gets knocked out, then that kind of paves the way for double 61 to get the Cinder 3, maybe even the Nico 3, and close out the lobby.
Mm-hmm. So this is interesting. Slooper actually has better items on his Syndra than Double has on his. So this is actually a matchup where just in the straight head-to-head, Slooper might be stronger, even though against the rest of the lobby, it might be that Double is stronger. So depending on RNG, and just as I say RNG, double 61, Syndra just zeroes out the other Syndra. But depending on RNG, Slooper can win that matchup.
So think about this for a second, that actually, the fact that Slooper had better items, specifically a mana item on his Syndra, makes his comp worse in the 1v1. Because in the 1v1 between Star Guardian players, you want to be the Syndra that casts second, because you get more orbs, because the Syndras use the other Syndra's orbs when they ultimate. So because the mana item was on Slooper's side, his Syndra casted faster and got the weaker first ultimate, which ultimately, is going to make a big difference in terms of the damage the Syndras are doing throughout the fight. So, weirdly enough, better items is worse in the mirror matchup.
Yep. When that happens and you see your Syndra just dies, you just say, okay, well, player difference. You say that sarcastically and you just move on because unfortunately by that point there's not much you can do. But look, there is the Syndra 3 in the contested matchup. So double 61's got to be feeling really good. The only thing he needs to complete Exodia is to get a mana item on either the Syndra or Janna, and then he is going to be lit and looking at potentially being the first TFT World Champion. So really scary position if you're anyone else in the lobby.
Also got to shout out that Guardian Angel in that last fight too to bring the Syndra back, keep the ults going. But yeah, this Syndra 3 should be insanely scary for everybody else in the lobby. Also, the QSS on Janna means that she's going to be undisturbed while she gets that cast off. Voltaire's getting wrecked. Oh boy,
that was
Primal. Are we going to actually see it end here? We've
might
still got
be,
a lot of rounds to go, but
yeah, I mean, he's at 79 HP. The next closest guy is half his HP, not even. So at this point, now that he already has a Syndra 3, you can't even deny him by holding his units, right? Mm-hmm. He's looking to look for an Acel 2, which would make him extremely strong in the mirror matchup because Acel 2 would straight drain all the mana from the enemy Star Guardians. So Double not only has the game in a really good spot right now, he's thinking about what are the ways I could actually lose the game and positioning for it. I'd like to see him pay a little bit more attention to the Zephyrs on the front line. There we go. He slams a Rakan in the middle. Really smart play because generally people will try to Zephyr directly in the middle.
Yep, Zephyr on the Syndra, though, so his carry gets, or one of his carries anyway, gets Zephyred this time. Does it matter, though? Because Nico does a lot of CC. Does it matter?
I think the answer is no.
Probably not.
You think probably not? Yeah, because here's the problem, right?
Yeah.
The Vayne doesn't seem to have the tools to kill anything. Oh, I'm wrong. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Dope.
So one of the really small things during that fight is the Vayne positioning versus the Janna positioning. There were a couple Janna ultimates that didn't hit the Vayne. And so because of that, Vayne got a lot of time free firing into the team, which I think kind of tipped the balance in the favor of the Cybernetics player. Kind of surprising to see, but we know double 61 he's mortal, but is he beatable? That's the question.
Yeah, and part of it's going to rely on what items come up for double 61. I do think if he has a mana item there, despite his Syndra getting Zephyred, the Syndra still cleans up. But the lack of the mana item plus the Zephyr, I think, bought just enough time for Zhuangzi to win. Conversely, though, if Zhuangzi can pick up some Giant Slayers so he can cut through the Nico a little bit more quickly, that could be a saving grace for him. So part of this is looking for the correct items on the carousel, or maybe someone got something from Kane. And part of it's going to come down to Zephyrs. The thing is, though, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I don't think double 61 is going to allow himself to get Zephyred like that again.
That's a Jinx 3, but he doesn't have enough gold, and he's on 13 HP. He might still die.
There it is.
Had to sell just to get it. 7 of 8, picks up a Jace just to fill the board, but is this Jinx 3 going to carry? Volterix has been relying on Rebels all day. It seems like kind of a comfort comp that he defaults to in a lot of games. At least he got an easy matchup this time around.
Yeah. And although generally Rebels is not viewed as one of the strongest comps, if you hit a Jinx 3, it kind of makes up for any, inadequacies that it has.
It does.
And if you hit an Aesol 2, it's actually quite good versus Star Guardians, because the combination of the shield from Rebels, meaning that you don't get burst down as quickly, and the mana drain from the Aesol means that he has the tools to actually deal with the Nico. In addition to all of that, he also has the Giant Slayer on the Jinx to deal with her.
Right, so Volterix lurking in 4th place with a chance to bring it back in a big way. We're going to check back in with double 61 now to see if he can close out this game and be the TFT Galaxies champion. He's got the tools. He's got a lot on his bench as well, too. He's kind of preparing to be able to make some late-game swaps depending on his opponent. Playing against Volterix. So here's the matchup that we were just talking about right now. Can this Aesol do it?
Oh, that Jinx, man. She is... oh, my God. She is hitting like a truck. The Jinx basically just one-shots the front line at this point. So Volterix, although he doesn't have that much HP, double 61's life bar is decreasing pretty rapidly, and we just saw how someone can win this matchup against this super stacked team. But there's a Janna too. I think it'll make a difference, but not as much of a difference. Oh, Xerath too as well, as mana items would.
Pretty good. Yeah,
that's
so
pretty good though.
The Janna 2 and the Xerath 2, yeah, those are two pretty large pickups here. But that Jinx 3 just does so much damage so fast, like you said. It's going to be close, but I'm not as confident as I was a moment ago. Trying to dodge those Zephyrs, he does do just that. No Zephyrs on this Ghost board anyway.
Yeah. And part of the problem for Double is, again, he doesn't have mana items, so he's casting a little bit more slowly than you would normally expect. Oh no, is that Zhuangzi taking out Volterius?
That would be crazy.
Volterius in the corner with the Jinx. Okay, the Jinx manages to carry him. Okay, I got a little scared there, because if Volterius ended up dying to Zhuangzi, it could have just been that the game ends, because I'm not sure that Zhuangzi can take out Double. So I think right now, if you want this tournament to keep going forward, the protagonist is Volterius.
Pretty much. Like, he's bringing it back. He's the anime protagonist of this particular lobby, And the thing is like, Volterix, if he takes down double 61, yeah, sure, he keeps the game going for himself, but it's kind of a betrayal of the EU region in general, isn't it?
I think it is, but at this point, all national affiliations drop off, and it's like, hey, I'm about to be the first TFT world champion. So I think right now everyone's just focused on how do I beat the guy in front of me and keep my tournament dream alive. Of course, Double holding on to deal life. He's finally hit a mana item, so he does have a Shojin's on Syndra. It's not ideal. You want a blue buff, but it's still a fantastic item to put on her. I'm surprised that he put it on her instead of the Janna, but I think it's still really good. Oh, and the really good Zephyr cheese by Zhuangzi. Really good.
I mean, that's what he wanted, right? So can the Syndra cast? Can the Echo finish off? I think the Janna's already down. Zephyr getting a couple shots off, but not a lot. This is going to be close. Oh, the Lulu ult. The Lulu ult maybe did it.
Oh, the Lulu ult kept keep him in there. And despite the Zephyr cheese,
oh my goodness,
Double,
he did it. Is double 61 TFT Galaxies champion, 16 years old. getting it done all the way.
And he did end up bringing a different comp to the table here too. There it is on your screen, the winning champion of it all. Whew. I know I'm still taking a little bit of a breather off that Doa. I'm sure you are as well. A lot of excitement in the final moments.
Oh, I'm hyped. Like, no mech in that last one, but Star Guardian Sorcerer is all you need to take home $40,000, which is exactly what KC Double just did. France was popping off on Twitter. All the other French players have got a great, huge community of a lot of really talented TFT gamers over there. And I'm sure they're psyched to see their countrymen take home the championship. And he did it. He did it in style. He played great. He won 3 in a row to do this. How crazy is that?
Absolutely crazy, especially considering the start to it all. With the prizing, you just saw who are taking the largest slices from today's finalists, but don't worry, for those that competed yesterday and weren't quite able to make it, they also go home with something in their pocket. And Becca, as Doa just said, it's so difficult to be able to take a win in all 3 of those. When you're trying to handle the pressure in that scenario, especially we're looking at the future of KC 61's career, what is that like when really trying to secure the win in that position?